All right, let's talk about anxiety. Today we're going to look at it through a totally different lens, the lens of Chinese medicine. We're going to explore this idea that anxiety isn't just something that happens in your head, it's something that happens in your entire body.
Now, if you've ever dealt with stress or anxiety, chances are you've heard this phrase. Oh, it's all in your head. It's usually meant to be reassuring, right? But for so many people, it just feels like a complete dismissal of what is a very real and very physical experience.
I mean, you could even make the argument that this is one of the most damaging sentences in modern healthcare. Why? Because it just shuts the conversation down. It invalidates everything a person is feeling and leaves them feeling totally unheard and kind of stuck.
So let's start right there and unpack why this little phrase is such a massive roadblock. Because this isn't just about hurt feelings. It's really about a fundamental misunderstanding of what anxiety actually is and how it shows up. Because look, anxiety isn't just a thought pattern. It creates real, measurable, physiological changes in your body. We're talking about a chest that feels tight, not being able to sleep, your digestion going haywire, or a jaw you just can't seem to unclench. Your cortisol levels go up, your whole nervous system gets disrupted. So to say this is all in your head, well, that just ignores the physical reality of what's happening.
So, what's the alternative? Let's dive into a new philosophy, one that's beautifully summed up by acupuncturist Charles Illingworth. It offers a completely different way to look at this connection between our minds and our bodies.
And here it is. This is really the core idea for our whole explainer today. It sounds so simple, right? But it holds the weight of an entire clinical philosophy. It doesn't even argue with the premise, it just expands on it, reminding us you can't treat the mind as if it's floating in a jar, separate from everything else. And that's because Chinese medicine sees the body as a totally integrated system. The mind and body aren't separate things. The source material puts it perfectly. Ignoring the body while you're treating the mind is like trying to change a car's oil while the engine is literally on fire. You're just missing the real problem.
Now, when you adopt this philosophy, it completely changes how you approach a patient. It's not just about talking through the issues anymore. It's about connecting all the dots by actually listening to what the entire body is trying to say. So, in practice, this all starts with the intake. Instead of a quick checklist, a practitioner creates this unhurried, non-judgmental space. They ask you about everything, they look at physical signs like your tongue, they feel your pulse, and all of these things are clues to help them identify an underlying pattern of imbalance that connects every single one of your symptoms.
And this right here illustrates the difference perfectly. Conventional approach, it's going to focus on your worries, your thought patterns. But in this other framework, questions about your digestion or your sleep or whether you run hot or cold, they're not random. They are vital pieces of the puzzle. Suddenly, that spike of anxiety you feel after you eat, that's not irrelevant. That's a key part of the picture.
So, if the diagnosis is built on a completely different map of the body, well, it makes sense that the treatment has to be different too. And this is where we get away from a single, one-size-fits-all diagnosis.
This is such a fundamental shift. Acupuncture isn't trying to treat anxiety as this one single thing. Instead, it's targeting the specific underlying imbalance, the root cause that's making you experience anxiety as a symptom. Okay, let's look at this chart to make it really clear. If your anxiety shows up with heart palpitations, the treatment is going to focus on what's called the heart system. But if your anxiety comes along with bloating and indigestion, the practitioner is going to address the spleen system. See? It's the same label, anxiety, but completely different root causes, which means completely different treatments.
And you know, maybe the most profound piece of this whole approach is the psychological shift it can create. It's really about taking your power back and reclaiming your own story.
Think about it. So often, we merge our identity with our condition. We don't just have anxiety, we say, I am an anxious person. This approach completely reframes that. You're not a broken person, you're a person whose body is just communicating an imbalance through symptoms. And that simple change in language creates so much space for healing to happen.
And that's the really empowering message here. If anxiety is just a symptom of an imbalance, then it doesn't have to be a permanent part of who you are. Once you help the system find its balance again, the symptom can actually resolve. It doesn't have to be your identity forever.
So what does this all look like in the end? Well, people report not just less anxiety, but improvements across the board. Better sleep, smoother digestion, and just this general feeling of being less reactive to stress. It really shows that when you treat the root cause, you don't just squash one symptom, the whole system starts to regulate itself.
And that brings us to our final thought.
What if we just stopped looking at anxiety as some kind of mental flaw that needs to be managed and started seeing it as a signal, a message from a really intelligent, integrated system that's simply asking for what it needs to find its balance again?
I stopped trying to find a doctor who would listen, and I did this instead. For years, I was doing everything right. Eating clean, exercising, getting 8 hours of sleep, but I was still exhausted. I had constant brain fog, and my hormones felt completely out of whack. Every doctor told me my labs were normal, and it was probably just stress. I was about to give up until I found Holistic Health. It's a free AI wellness tool trained by functional medicine experts. I spent 5 minutes answering questions about everything: my symptoms, my sleep, my digestion, and it built me this. And this was the light bulb moment. It didn't just give me a list of problems, it connected the dots. It showed me how my gut health was likely impacting my hormones and how that was causing the fatigue and the brain fog. It even gave me a clear list of potential root causes, supplements to research, and even the specific lab tests to ask for. Its tip is secure. Over 77,000 people have used it, and it's 100% free to get your blueprint. If you feel like you're not being heard, start here. Understand your body first and then decide your next step.